Hey everyone, it's Mike from Mike Wilson Art. I hope everyone's having a great day today. As usual, thank you guys so very much for taking the time out of your day to check in and hear about some of these new card art projects that I've been working on. I've got a really cool project that I want to share with you guys today. We're going to be looking at card number 12 and 13 from series number 3. Yes, the double reveal. Super excited to show you guys these two cards. I don't usually reveal two cards at once, but there's a really good reason why we're going to do it today. The customer reached out for this card project with a really interesting, really creative idea. And I know I say that a lot, and even surprises me a lot of the time when I think that, you know, what else could these guys come up with? Sure enough, somebody comes my way with a really cool and just really different idea. And that's, you know, the card we're going to be looking at today. This card was actually purchased and conceived of by a brother who wanted to do something really special for his twin brother for a really monumental birthday, which is going to be their 40th birthday coming up. And he wanted to do not only a tribute to his brother, but a tribute to two of their favorite players growing up. They both were big Seattle Mariners fans and wanted to do a card that featured both of him and his brother's favorite player. So why don't we just dive right in and see who we illustrated. All right, so here is our two cards we came up with, featuring, you know, Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez. This card was really cool to work on, but, you know, obviously a lot of work went into this one. So why don't we just dive right in and see what went into making these two cards. All right, guys, so here are our two handmade Topps Heritage 2018 dual auto cards. And like I said at the beginning, this features Seattle Mariners players Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez. They are the same on both cards. Really the only difference that you can tell on the fronts of these cards right off the bat is that this one is 1 of 2 and this is a 2 of 2. That was a little bit of instruction that the customer passed on to me. They wanted these cards to look like some dual autograph cards that they had actually seen in other places where they did a 1 of 1 or 1 of 2 and a 2 of 2 in the same manner. And the other thing that they asked me was to kind of make these look like somebody had actually hand-drawn them. And they asked if we could maybe use a blue ink or red ink or something that would be a little bit different than the usual black. I suggested that the blue was going to work great just because it would go with their uniform colors. But yeah, that's a little bit about, you know, initially these two cards. You know, they look really similar. The only time you can kind of see some big differences is when you really zoom in and take a look at the super details. But, you know, right off the bat, they look very similar, which makes me happy because that's what I was shooting for at the beginning. But let's look at these one at a time real quick. This one right here is the Dan Wilson card. You know, right off the bat, the customer and I decided for legibility's sake, we were not going to try and pack both players' stats on the back, and that we were going to do one Dan Wilson and one Edgar Martinez, one for each brother. So that is how we did the backs of those. You know, the front is pretty much the standard card design that I would normally do. The only difference in this one is that I had to actually do it 2 times, which was a challenge, but it was really cool idea. So I was definitely all for it. I would say that when it comes to doing these 2 card fronts, the hardest part is hands down all this text down here. Small text is always tough, but small text that is either white or yellow on top of a you know, really colored background is always tricky. So I'm really happy with how this came out. A lot of the time that text wants to soak up some of the watercolor behind it, and you can watch as yellow or white text starts to turn slowly red or blue. And a lot of times when that happens to me, I'll have to just go back over these a couple of times, which sounds crazy because the text is so small, but I think I did 2 coats on the names here and 2 coats on the tops dot in the middle here. So that was probably the trickiest part about this. The part that I had the most fun doing is honestly the 2 players. I love the photo that this client chose of both Dan and Edgar. I love the look on their faces. I love the position they were in. So just doing the player was probably my favorite part of this one. Even though a lot of the time doing the player is, you know, kind of the stressful part, because you want that likeness to be there. You want the players to actually look who they're supposed to look like. So what's usually kind of a tough and challenging part, at least in this card, turned out to be the most fun. So that is our card front of our Dan Wilson card. He's 1 of 2. And I still did 1 of 1 on the back here, because even though this is a 1 of 2, it is still a 1 of 1. It still lives on its own as a very special card. So that's our Dan. Our Edgar, it looks pretty much the same as Dan. Only difference, like I said, is that 2 of 2 up here. Yeah, everything just fits really well. The customer for this one really knew where they wanted everything, and I love when people know what they want in a card design. I love this little 40th anniversary thing that kind of is a riff off the Topps 50th anniversary. I just thought was a really cool detail they wanted to add, since both brothers are going to be turning 40. But I love cards that have, you know, so much going on. You know, there's 2 players, 2 autographs, 2 names, there's a Topps logo, there's a handwritten 1 of 2, 1 of 1, you know, 40th anniversary logo down here. There's just a lot going on in this card, even though it appears relatively simple, you know, but just a lot going on there. So that's these are the backs of our 2 cards. I colored these little design elements the way I usually do, except I kind of mixed them up. I did, you know, where I did the blue here, I did kind of the green down here, and vice versa. And just tried to make them look as similar as I could, even though they were the 2 different players. So that's our card back. And our card front to this really challenging but really heartwarming gift idea for one brother to another. And I hope you guys love these. All right, guys, so that is it. That is a bit of the story behind this really cool birthday gift from one brother to another, and just really cool to get to pay tribute to 2 of their favorite players growing up. You know, I know me and my brother had our favorite players growing up, and I'm sure you guys and your siblings had your favorite players growing up. So it was really cool that this particular client wanted to, you know, pay tribute to that on these 2 cards. So thank you so much for this really great project. All right, guys, that is it. You know, that's the story behind this particular card, but like I always say, there's no card that we can't make. Whether you want 2 cards or 10 cards, it really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your idea and reaching out. Like I said, there's nothing we can't make. So you can contact me here on Instagram, or you can head over to my website, mikeolsonart.com, and get in touch with me there. But either way, I'd love to hear your ideas. So thank you guys so much for taking the time today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.